the youngest, suddenly stared wide-eyed at his meal, spit out his food, and screamed,
"There's a hair in my dirt! There's a hair in my dirt!"
And sure enough, there it was. Plain as day, they could all see it. There's a Hair in My Dirt, a worm story.
By Gary Larson, creator of The Far Side.
A New York Times bestseller.
I hate being a worm! We're the lowest of the low, bottom of the food chain. Bird food, fish bait. What kind of life is this anyway? We never get to go swimming, or camping, or hiking, or anything. Shoot, we never even get to go to the surface unless the rains flood us out. All we ever do is crawl around in the stupid ground. Oh, and how could I forget? We eat dirt. Dirt for breakfast, dirt for lunch, dirt for dinner, dirt, dirt, dirt. I can't take it anymore. This is the last straw, the final insult. I hate being a worm.
Let me get this straight. Not only is your mother's dirt not good enough for you, but you feel that being a worm isn't exactly a charmed life, eh? My boy, I think it's time I told you a story.
If this is the one about the teenager worms and the insane trout fisherman, I've heard that one a gazillion times.
No, not that story, though that is a good story. This story has a happy ending.
I have an idea. Let's all listen to Father's story, and maybe afterwards we can have some fresh, cold dirt for dessert.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful maiden named Harriet. Now, Harriet loved nature and all the magnificent plants and animals. And one day, she decided to take a walk along her favorite woodland trail.
What glorious things will I see today?
She had just started along when she spotted a small lumpy creature crossing her path.
Mr. Turtle! What are you doing out of your pond, Mr. Turtle? Well, I think I'll take you right back home.
Unfortunately, it was not Mr. Turtle at all, but Mr. Tortoise. And unlike their aquatic cousins, they never even evolved into decent doggy paddlers. The poor reptile sank to the bottom of the pond where he promptly drowned. What's worse, who knows how many of our parasitic loved ones went down with the ship.
This story is for the birds, if you ask me. I mean, some lady taking a walk in the woods, boy, I can't stand the excitement. If you're gonna tell me a story, you could at least tell me one that's sort of interesting, like Mr. Dung Beetle finds his field of dreams. Now that's a cool story.
I'm telling this story, so put a fish hook in that mouth of yours and let me finish. Where was I? Ah, yes. Harriet was continuing her walk when she saw something moving in the grass.
Oh, slug! Get away from me, you slimy little thing! Get away! Oh!
Then, spotting her true prize, Harriet lunged.
Ha! Mr. Frog, should I kiss you and see if you turn into a prince?
Fortunately for Harriet, she did not kiss the creature, for it wasn't Mr. Frog at all, but Mr. Toad. And like most toads, and some frogs, it carried a potent, sometimes lethal toxin in its skin. The slug slime, on the other hand, was quite harmless.
Ernie Johnson! I went to my high school prom with a slug named Ernie Johnson. And Ernie's slime might have been harmless, dear, but it certainly wrecked my evening. Before the night was over, I was wishing I had brought a salt shaker. Well, what made you fall for Dad? He's slimy too, isn't he? No, not exactly. Your father's always been on more of what I'd call the sticky side.
May I please continue? That is, if you two are through discussing the viscosity of my mucus. Continuing along her walk, Harriet spotted a sight that saddened her deeply. A great tree, old as the forest itself, lay fallen across the trail.
I'm so sorry. You poor tree. Such a tragedy. Such a waste.
Far from being a waste, these huge nurse trees, as their name implies, are the key to survival for the entire forest. In fact, a fallen tree is arguably more alive than a standing one, so much of its mass is taken up with other organisms. As a famous worm once wrote, I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a big rotting tree carcass.
Little baby bird.
Beep, beep, beep.
Beep, beep, beep. Helplessly on the ground. Did you fall out of your home? Well, I think I'll take you right back where you belong. There you go. You two youngsters are back together again.
But not for long. As soon as Harriet was gone, the young fledgling found herself plummeting back to earth. You see, she had rescued a baby golden eagle, a species in which the strongest sibling ensures its own survival by giving its younger brothers and sisters the old heave-ho.
Author's note: this behavior always takes place in the parent's absence, which should come as no surprise to the younger siblings of all other species.
Time to return home. Oh, the things I've seen.
But suddenly, Harriet came across a sight she didn't want to see. A sight that chilled her blood.
A snake! A snake!
And trapped within the serpent's coils was a poor helpless mouse. Its eye, gasping its last breaths, its eyes looked up to Harriet's as it sent her one last desperate look of hope.
Grabbing a nearby stick,
Take that, you
proceeded to
dreadful
strike
thing!
the reptile repeatedly.
And that! And that! And two more! It's over. The snake is dead.
Boy, was he ever. The mouse revived, and she set it down and scurried off into the grass. Harriet was happy. Good had triumphed over evil, and the forest was just a little bit safer for everyone. Well, actually, the snake Harriet killed was a king snake, an efficient rodent-eating predator, and the mouse was a vector for a deadly disease. When Harriet wiped the tear from her eye, a disease that had been living on the mouse's fur invaded her body. And one lovely spring morning, delirious with fever, Harriet stumbled out of her little cottage, fell over, and died. The
The end? What kind of a story is that? That's supposed to cheer me up? Boy, I'm really full of warm, wormy feelings right now. Thanks, Dad.
My son, I'm afraid you've missed the crucial point of the story. You see, Harriet loved nature, but she didn't understand it. She missed the crucial connections. Ah, connections, my boy. They're the key to understanding the natural world.
And here Father stretched himself out to his full, glorious 3.5 inches.
Take us worms, for instance. We till and aerate the soil. Without us enriching the soil, there'd be no plants. And with no plants, there'd be no so-called higher organisms, with their oh-so-precious backbones. We're invertebrates, my boy. We're the real movers and shakers on this planet. Spineless superheroes, that's what we are.
And since Father Worm had no fist to bring down on the table, he simply yelled,
Bang!
Okay, I get it. Being a worm ain't so bad. But you were wrong about one thing. You said the story had a happy ending. That story didn't have a happy ending.
Well, it does, if you're a worm. Now let's get back to that hair in your dirt. Or should I say, Harriet. Harriet.
And when they had all finished laughing, the little worm went to bed and had the best dreams ever. Well, truthfully, worms don't really sit around kitchen tables, eating and telling stories, learning lessons. On the other hand, they do have a message for all of us.
See you soon!